Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I will compare the Samsung's Note 10 Plus with the Midranger Galaxy A70 to see the features a flagship phone have and a Midranger does not, and there's $700 difference between the price of these two phones. So starting off with the construction, it's gonna be aluminium frame and curved Gorilla Glass back on the Note 10 versus plastic frame and curved plastic back on the A70. So obviously the Note is gonna feel good in the hand, while the A70 will have an advantage in terms of the durability. The screen will be 6.8 inches diagonally, being 19 by 9 in aspect ratio on the Note 10 Plus versus its 6.7 inches on the A70, being slightly less wider, 20 by 9 in aspect ratio. So both phones will be pretty large and easily needing two hands to use, and here's the smaller Note 10 for comparison. As for the bezels, first of all, the screen is curved on the Note 10, so it makes the side bezels super thin. As for the chin, it's slightly thinner on the Note 10 Plus, and the top bezel is also more thinner on the Note. As for that hole punch versus the notch, on the Note 10, it's gonna make the status bar slightly more wider, means it's slightly more down the screen compared to the notch on the A70, but again the top bezel is more wider on the A70. As for the fingerprint scanner, it will be in screen on both phones, while the Note will be faster in terms of the speed, and both phones will have the face unlock feature, and this will also be faster on the Note because of more processing power. Both phones will have the USB Type-C port for connectivity, and the A70 will have the headphone jack while the Note 10 won't. One speaker on the A70 on the bottom side versus two on the Note 10, one on the bottom side and one on top, and the top speaker will also work as an earpiece, so better sound experience on the Note 10. The Note will also be IP68 certified, while the A70 won't have any resistance against water, and at last the Note 10 is a Note, so there's gonna be the S Pen, and it can also be used to remotely control the device, and the previous Notes did not have this feature. In terms of the display, so dynamic AMOLED versus Super AMOLED with resolution of Full HD on the A70 versus Quad HD on the Note 10, while the screen sharpness will still be good on the A70. Both are OLED, so super deep blacks, while the Note 10 will be more brighter than the A70, means higher contrast, and it supports dynamic HDR content, while the A70 does not. Both phones will have the always-on display and to protect them Gorilla Glass. As for the performance, so Snapdragon 675 on the A70 versus Snapdragon 855 or Exynos 9825 on the Note 10, depending upon where you live. So here major lead by Note 10, the difference in everyday performance is easily gonna be noticeable thanks to the faster CPUs. And in terms of the GPU and gaming, the A70 is not up to date, heavy games lag on it, while the Note 10 will stay up to date for more than a year in terms of gaming. The RAM will be 12GB on the Note 10 Plus, while on the A70 it's gonna be either 6 or 8, and 6GB makes more sense with the CPU and the GPU it's having. And the storage is gonna be 128GB on the A70 versus 256 or 512GB on the Note 10 Plus, and both will support the micro SD card, but keep in mind the smaller Note 10 does not support the micro SD card, and at last the OS will be Android 9 on both phones, so user interface will be the same. Now to the cameras, so 32 megapixels main sensor on the A70 with large but fixed aperture versus 12 megapixels on the Note 10 Plus with dual aperture and OIS. So first of all, on the A70 high resolution sensor, but it will combine 4 pixels into one, so technically making 8 megapixels images and then upscaling them to 12, while you still can take full 32 megapixel shots in exchange of HDR and low light performance. So in good light, Samsung phones have good dynamic range, but still where the A70 will fail, the Note 10 won't thanks to its smaller aperture, means less blown out pictures. And as for the detail, clearly the Note 10 will have more detail compared to the A70, In low light, the A70 does not produce dim pictures, but the detail will be lower and noise will be higher than the Note 10, while both phones will have the long exposure night mode, which improves dynamic range and reduces noise. As for the wide angle sensor, it will be 16 megapixels on the Note versus 8 megapixels on the A70, so way lesser detail on the A70, while the field of view will be the same on both phones. And in low light, this sensor on the A70 compared to the Note 10 is straight up bad. Pictures come out dim and detail is already very low, while on the Note 10 this wide angle produces bright pictures. While also night mode is available for this sensor as well on both phones. On the Note 10 there will be a telephoto sensor and it will have 2 times optical zoom, and it will also have OIS for less distorted images. And at last, both phones will have a dedicated sensor for depth information, while on the Note 10 it is gonna be a completely different technology and it basically can see things in 3D, so better and more natural portraits on the Note 10 Plus, and the standard Note 10 doesn't have this sensor. As for video capture, both phones will capture 4K videos, while the frame rate will be at 60 FPS on the Note versus 30 on the A70. And as for stabilization, the Note 10 will have optical stabilization in 4K at 60, while optical plus electronic stabilization in 4K at 30 FPS mode, versus the A70 will only have EIS, means software based stabilization in 1080p at 30 FPS mode, no stabilization in highest settings. Slow motion capture will be at 240 FPS on both phones, means 8 times slower, and the super slow motion will be at 480 FPS, while the duration will be double on the Note 10, and the handset can also capture 960 FPS slow-mos, means 32 times slower. Both phones will have the super steady mode, which are super stabilized and steady videos using the wide angle sensor, while in terms of the detail, the Note will be way ahead as it has a high resolution wide angle sensor, and the Note 10 Plus will also have the portrait video feature, which works well if you don't pay attention, but if you look closely, you will find it is in early stages. On the front side, again 32 megapixels on the A70, which will output images in 12 megapixels versus 10 megapixels front sensor on the Note 10. And still, selfies from the Note 10 looks more sharp compared to the ones from the A70, even though they are slightly lower in resolution. Both phones handles dynamic range here nicely, and both can take portrait selfies, while the Note can also take portrait selfie videos. At loss for the battery, so it's slightly lower on the Note 10 Plus compared to the A70, so in normal everyday use the screen on time will also be slightly lesser on the Note 10 Plus. And when the CPU and GPU usage will increase on both phones, like during gaming or video rendering, then the Note will discharge even faster, but in return you will get more performance. The Note 10 will have the wireless charging, which requires a separate wireless charger, and at loss for recharging, both phones will come with a 25 watts charger, but the Note will take just 1 hour and 5 minutes to fully recharge, versus the A70 takes close to 1 hour and 40 minutes to do the same. So this is it for this video, guys. Let me know what do you guys think about both handsets, and if you found this video interesting, then be sure to like it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.